Welcome to our weekly 3-minute therapy podcast. And everything we discuss revolves around the subject of rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT, which was devised by Albert Ellis in the 1950s, which caused a sea change in the psychotherapy movement from the old psychoanalytic idea that your emotional problems as an adult come from your childhood to the more modern idea, which is now widely accepted, which Albert Ellis had first postulated, and that is our emotional and behavioral problems come from our thinking. So if you are anxious, depressed, angry, addicted, look to your thinking. That causes the problem. And then that's good news, because if it's your thinking, you can change your thinking. And that's what REBT teaches you how to do. And you can look at one of your demands or musts that cause your emotional problems. I must do well and get approval, or else I'm no good, leads to anxiety, guilt, and other emotional and behavioral problems. Others must treat me well, fairly, kindly, and considerately. And if they don't, they're no good. And that tends to lead to anger, resentment, hostility. And then the third must is a demand on the conditions of your life, and takes the form of my life must be fair, easy, hassle-free, and exciting. And if it's not, then my life is horrible, and that tends to lead to addictions and procrastination. And I'm Dr. Michael Edelstein, clinical psychologist and author, and I'm here with my co-host, Mick Berry. And I also wanted to mention about Albert Ellis. He's written over 50 books on REBT and related subjects, or rather, over 80 books. And he died in 2007 at the age of 93, 18 years ago. But he was a giant and genius in the field of psychotherapy. Mick, did you want to add anything?
No, just yeah, he was also really a lot of fun, very fun to hang out with. I got a chance to hang out with him several times, and he was very unassuming, not egotistical at all. I mean, the man was a legend in the field of psychology, and I would give him rides, picking him up to from the airport in my dumpy car, and he didn't care about being in a dumpy car. Didn't make any difference to him.
Yeah. Okay, good. And today, Mick and I are going to discuss REBT and sleeping well. And normally, if you're not sleeping well, there are a few problems in there, the emotional problems and practical problems. And emotional problems come from demands that you put on yourself. And that is one common one is I must fall asleep immediately. And if I don't, there's something wrong with me. Or I have to have a good night's sleep. Otherwise, I'll be exhausted and I'll have a horrible day tomorrow. I must not be tired tomorrow. I can't stand lying awake. So some people feel that if they don't fall asleep immediately, they'll be lying awake and they can't stand it. And obviously they can stand what they're standing. And it would be awful if I don't sleep well, rather than it would be unfortunate, but not horrible. If you just rest quietly in bed, you get some benefit, certainly not the benefit you get from sleeping, but you would get some benefit. And also avoid putting yourself down. I'm a loser because I have sleep problems. I'm a rotten person. So that's something to avoid also. So when you have these musts, these demands on yourself, you can question, challenge, and contradict them and show yourself that although it would be preferable to sleep well, to fall asleep immediately and have a good night's sleep, it's no reason you absolutely have to. There's no law of the universe saying you have to sleep well. Many people have problems sleeping, and there's no reason why you should be exempt from that, although it would be nice. Nick?
Well, I was going to say, I'm not sure there's always a psychological problem. And as you were just saying, it would be nice to sleep well, but if somebody is not sleeping well and they've tried every trick in the book and they're still not sleeping well, then the thing to do would be to watch out for creating a mental disturbance on top of it. Because sometimes I've found I'm just not sleeping, and quite honestly, I look for a demand and I can't find one. And I'm just going, well, I'm not sleeping. Okay, and no, I'm not demanding that I have to sleep. All right, I'm not sleeping. I don't like being tired. However, I can use this as an opportunity to not upset myself about something that I don't like, that apparently for the time being I can't do a damn thing about. I have found over the years that when I encounter a situation that I cannot change, if I look on it as an opportunity to raise my frustration tolerance, to remember, yes, I am going to stand this no matter what, then I at least am able to deal with the situation and benefit from my behaving in that situation.
Yeah. And also, as just to elaborate on something you said, that sometimes if you don't sleep well, it's not necessarily something you're doing wrong. In fact, I had a client once who just physiologically, just the way she was, just had difficulty sleeping and didn't get much sleep every night. And it wasn't that she was awfulizing about it or upsetting herself about it. Her body just didn't sleep. So if you're in that situation, which is very rare, then thing to do is just try to rest and at night and not upset yourself about it. Nick?
Well, and I was going to say also, we want to remember REBT addresses emotional problems and it also addresses practical problems and saying, okay, well, what is it you could do to change the situation? And sometimes it's to look elsewhere than REBT. There are programs for sleep apnea or whatever the sort of sleep disorder someone might have, and finding a good program and doing that would be the solution, while just using REBT to not upset yourself about it.
Yeah, and speaking of sleep apnea, if you have sleep apnea, you probably know if you have it that there's a machine you can get. I think it's called a CPAP machine that could help you sleep. Nick?
Well, what exactly is sleep apnea? I've heard the term, but I'm not sure I know what it is.
Sleep apnea is where, I think because of the physiological construction of your nose or sleep apparatus, that it's difficult to sleep and you wake up a lot from snoring and things like that as a
Okay.
result of sleeping physiological problems. Yeah.
And I wanted to say something about this idea of I can't stand it. I must have mentioned this in a podcast in the past, maybe several times, but you astutely pointed out one error I was having with the thought in addressing the thought I can't stand it. I, for the longest time, would think, well, okay, I can stand this situation. I'm going to stand it. And I would be gung ho and practice, 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 as Albert Ellis and you both advocate to stand a situation. But then you pointed out to me, you're going to be standing it no matter what you do. And I realized I didn't have to work to stand a situation. And that was one instance where working very hard was actually detrimental to me. It was the insight of realizing I'm going to stand this no matter what I do. I might not be standing it elegantly. I might not be standing it free of anxiety. But even if I'm having anxiety, I am still standing the situation. I started saying to myself, well, what do I mean by not stand it? And I saw that my definition of not stand it was rolling up into a ball on my bed and just crying incessantly. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do that. And even if I did do that, I'm still standing it. So this whole idea of having to work to stand something got thrown out the window. And I am able to watch the phrase, I can't stand something, and then just tell myself, I'm going to be standing this. I don't have to worry about not standing it. That's a silly thought.
Yeah, exactly. And as you mentioned earlier, Mick, there are also some practical things you can do. And one is to go to bed and get up at the same time. So make it a habit to get to bed, get up at the same time, and that'll train your body to sleep. And for some people, using screens or eating before bed is not a good idea, tends to keep them up. So no screens and no eating at least more than an hour before bed. And also keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Mick, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Well, I wanted to say that every one of those things you've mentioned are things that I actually do not do. I eat late at night, I look at my computer screen late at night, and I don't go to bed and get up at the same time. And usually I find if I stay up late, then I fall asleep. But one thing that I do tell myself is if I have a bad night of sleep, and this is a way for me not to have anxiety about it, well, if I am exhausted tomorrow, I'll probably sleep really soundly tomorrow night because I'll be so tired.
Yeah. Also, I find, and this shows from what you're saying and what I'm going to say, people are individuals. I find that if I don't go to bed at a reasonable time and I don't get much sleep, that I'm more alert the next day and more activated. So you never know with people. People are different.
Uh, yeah,
Although
well,
I wouldn't try that a few nights in a row.
well, I
Yeah,
remember you once telling me, I thought this was very smart. We were talking about drinking, and if somebody has a drinking problem, is the solution for them to stop drinking altogether? And I remember you telling me, well, theoretically, everybody can learn to drink moderately, but human beings defy theories.
yeah, right. Okay, I had nothing more to add except for one thing, and that is whether you sleep well or sleep poorly, practice USA, unconditional self-acceptance. Accept yourself if you have sleep problems, and just remind yourself you're just an imperfect human who acts imperfectly, never a rotten person. Mick, did you have anything else to add? Yeah,
Lastly, we're not just a fallible human being, but we are a fallible human being like everybody else who has ever lived and everybody else who will ever live, most likely. Some people are less self-defeating than others, but we're all fallible. And I have found that one of the ways people get themselves into trouble is by trying to be more than human and demanding themselves to be infallible. And that's a very inhumane way to think,
yeah.
behave,
Inhumane but human. So you're treating yourself poorly. In that sense, it's inhumane.
right?
Hey, very,
Inhumanity is quite human.
yeah. Okay, very good. Thanks, Mick, for your great participation. Thanks, Chris Rossini, our tech engineer. And comment below if you have thoughts or questions or would like to volunteer. We'll cure you for no charge if you'd like to be a guest on the show. Give us a thumbs up and a like if you benefit from this. And remember to subscribe to the 3 Minute Therapy podcast. To do what, Mick?
To stay on the rational side of life, and I just remembered I have sometimes done REBT in dreams. So to stay on the rational side of life and sleeping and dreaming.